25% of workers experience at least one form of workplace conflict in the past 12 months. Yet, over 1/3 of people who experienced workplace conflict said it was not resolved at all.
Yeah.
What do you think is happening in a workplace or in the workplace at large where conflict is obviously happening because people are there, but it's never being resolved? What's happening?
I think, first of all, one of the reasons why it's never resolved is because there's never an attempt to resolve it. Because a lot of times there is a conflict that happens and then people respond with disengagement. And so they don't actually lean in and have the conversation. That's the first thing. The next thing is that we don't have the skills to resolve the conflict. So if we think about it through the lens of any other skills, we are communicating and resolving conflict, or trying to at least, every single day.
That's right.
But how many times have we had the opportunity to actually learn how to do that in a meaningful way? This is one of my favorite things to ask during keynotes. Just raise your hand if you've ever taken a negotiation class, and maybe 10% or would raise their hand.
I can't raise my hand right now.
Right? And then for those 10%, okay, how many of you have taken more than one? All of them go down. Right. And so when people say, I really struggle in conflict, I say, well, I'm not typically very good at things that I haven't practiced either. It's a skill.
Well, this is what I love about you and your approach, because when I first came across you recently, I was like, okay, this is fun because I'm going to be learning alongside the audience today. Because at first blush, if I saw conflict mediation as a topic or just handling conflict in the workplace, my gosh, what a huge topic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily think I need to take a negotiation class, or I need to listen to Kwame's podcast, or I need to interview him. I wouldn't put the two together. Is that common?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, now why does negotiation then, the skill, or maybe the art form, why does it help us with conflict?
Because it's a problem-solving tool. That's the key. And I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that there's going to be a really tight connection between conflict resolution and negotiation. Because if you just think about negotiation as the skill set, the things that you do and say, there's going to be a limiter there. Because if you can try to persuade somebody, but if they're not in the right mental state, then they are really unpersuadable. So one of the things I recognize people struggle with is creating the conditions for persuasion. So they might utilize an approach that on paper could or should work, but the person is so triggered that it cannot work. So you need the conflict resolution skills to be able to lower the emotional temperature of the room. And then once level heads have prevailed, now we can have a higher level dialogue. But the problem is that we have to earn the right to get to that point. And usually we don't start at the right spot.
No, we don't. Where do we tend to start?
I'm right, you're wrong.
Right. And gee, I wonder why nothing ever gets solved.
And so people will say, hey, the other person's being defensive in the conversation. I said, man, it seems like you're probably talking to a human. Right? I mean, we go in with inappropriate expectations. We should anticipate this. The fact that the person is emotional, they're taking it the wrong way, they're getting defensive. These are predictable things, and they will happen in the majority of the conversations. So it's not a matter of whether or not it's happening. It's whether or not you have the skills to deal with it when it does.
You spend years building your career, your skills, your credibility, and your reputation. What most people don't realize is that data broker sites quietly collect and sell your personal information online, creating risk you never agreed to. Delete Me helps you take control back by finding your data and getting it removed again and again. Protect your reputation beyond the workplace. Go to joindeleteme.com/frontrowseat and get 20% off an annual plan. So really, we should be, and I say we collectively, feels like negotiation should be something that's taught in high school?
Yes. Oh, see, now I'm leaning forward. I'm getting hyped now.
Yes, let's go.
Because that's the thing. We are teaching people. I remember when I was in college, I took Calculus 2. I took it because I didn't realize I didn't have to, unfortunately. And so I remember they were teaching us this really complex equation, and I'm sitting here struggling, just suffering.
Right.
And I just asked the TA, I said, why are we learning this? Why would I ever need this? And she stopped for a second, and she was like stumped. She said, well, hypothetically, if you ever needed to find the volume of something shaped like a potato, then you would need this. And I said, when would I need that?
Ever need that.
Right? And so we're learning all of these irrelevant things.
Yes.
We don't learn personal finance. We don't learn communication. We don't learn conflict resolution. And we're wondering why we go out into the real world and struggle with this. This should be foundational.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. That opens my eyes to, okay, back in the workplace. So if somebody has some basic negotiation skills, they've taken a course from you or, whatever they've done, and they begin to understand the process of it. Because it's, I've interviewed other negotiators like FBI big shots and all that, and it really feels like not just a process. It feels like a process and an art form.
It is. It is. Absolutely.
And where I'm going with that is you can't just learn it. You're going to have to practice it. I'm guessing it's a little bit like riding a bike, a little clunky. You gotta skin your knees early on.
Absolutely.
True?
Yeah. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
If you're not taking any L's in this process, that just means you're not trying.
Right.
That's part of the process.
Yeah.
And any negotiation expert that is telling the truth will let you know that they have had failures, and they currently do. There's no way to be perfect at this.
Right.
So that's why I think it's so important to think about this through the lens of practice, especially if you're a leader in the workplace. If you're advancing in your career, then hypothetically, the conversations that you have today are not going to be as consequential as the conversations you have tomorrow and next year. So take this as practice for the next conversation. So for me, I've developed this mentality where the harder the conversation is, the more I appreciate the conversation, because this is just a hard rep. When you think about it through the lens of fitness, we have progressive overload.
That's right.
Go into the gym, you break down the muscle fibers, you push a little bit harder, and then the next day you can go a little bit harder, right? You get a little bit stronger every day. So when I have a really tough conversation, I say, this is fantastic. This is going really poorly.
Right.
And most conversations aren't going to be this hard. But when the next one is, I'll be more prepared. Because I want you to start thinking about this as your own coach. So you can win every single time with this mentality. So step number one, your goal is to put yourself in the best position for success. Do the best you can, use the best possible skills you can, and understand that even if you approach this perfectly, it's not guaranteed to succeed. Then after every conversation, just ask yourself this question. What did I do well? Try to do more of that. What did I do poorly? Try not to make the same mistake twice. And that's it. And then you guarantee progress.
I don't want the audience to miss what you just said, because that's so simple that you can just kind of like, okay, yeah. But what makes that simple advice you just gave so profound is the actual process of doing it. Most people won't sit and reflect.
Right.
You find that to be true?
Oh, 100%.
And I'm calling myself. I want to be very careful. Like some of my best days, Kwame, are the days where at the end of the day, I actually sit and reflect.
Yeah.
Over the day. And yet we don't do it very often.
Yeah.
We're in our phones, Netflix, whatever, and we just don't sit there and reflect. And I don't think we do it coming out of really hard conversations. I think we try to medicate on some level or distract, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is too, if we reflect, it's a lot simpler and more reassuring to just blame the other side. This didn't go well because they are unhinged. This didn't go well because they didn't handle themselves the right way. Yeah. And the thing is, it is a patently disempowering stance.
Yes.
Because if that's the case, if you just accept that as true, then you're also accepting that the quality of every conversation going forward is outside of your control.